Okay, greetings. Today is 1 March 2018. This is Korat, Thailand. Time is 6:29 p.m., getting dark at the moment. Temperature outside is a warm 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The topic at this time is going to be the assault weapon or assault rifle. It's a very sensitive and a contentious subject. A lot of people are claiming that none of these rifles, AR-15s, for example, can be called assault rifles. There's no such thing. Especially, you'll hear extremist Second Amendment advocates like Dan Bongino, whom I respect and enjoy listening to. But a lot of these guys, whether they're on the right or left, conservative or liberal approach, they go ahead and dig their heels into a corner that they can't back out of, and they keep reiterating and over-reiterating until you know that there's something wrong with their argument. So because quite a few so-called authorities and experts on guns have said that no, the AR-15 is not an assault rifle, I got interested in looking up what the older literature says on assault rifles and to see exactly whether there was any validity to claims by the ones that are, I would say, knee-jerkingly overreactive and against the ban on the AR-15. Although I'm in the camp of being a conservative, sort of a Christian Buddhist. I'm a white male. I like guns. I'm not an expert in them, but I've shot them before. I've shot an AK-47. I've shot pistols and rifles of various kinds and shotguns, semi-automatic shotguns, a recoilless barrel shotgun, and so on, 12 gauge, 16 gauge, so on. So I've had some limited experience with guns, but being a former English teacher and a writer and an editor, the use of terms in our language, when we take our own mother tongue English and start applying certain nuances to vocabulary to win an argument, then we're not really being fair with our audience. So what I wanted to do is very briefly go to a resource that I use. Now I've got the 1988 version of Encyclopedia Britannica, and the advantage of this book here, it's written by experts in every single field that's mentioned in there. These guys are experts, and the opinions in there are far and few between. It's fact, and although there are limitations, it's still factual, and people in there don't have an axe to grind, and it's very difficult to become a writer for such publications. So I've got the entire 1988 volume on my shelves, but of course you'll also be gratified to know that the same type of publication is also online. You can go to www.britannica.com and go to assault rifle. It'll switch you over to technology slash assault rifle, and there you'll be able to see exactly what an assault rifle is and the history there. And actually the history goes way back, early Japan in the late 1800s. So it's amazing how far back in history the development of what is called and what is the assault rifle has there. Interesting history. This is why people who need to be authoritative on what they say about the assault rifle, because if you don't know what you're talking about, then you are unable to convince others of the point that you're trying to make. So again, I recommend this website on Britannica. Now what they write here, right at the very beginning, okay, on assault rifle, and written by the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica. So it's not you and I didn't write it, or Facebook didn't write it, or the proponents of the Second Amendment didn't write it, the gun lobby didn't write it, the anti-gun lobby didn't write it. It was written by a bunch of very professional editors. So they say, assault rifle, number one, it's a military firearm that is chambered for ammunition of reduced size or propellant charge, and that has the capacity to switch between semi-automatic and fully automatic fire. Okay, that's an important point, because there's a switch on that that allows you to switch back and forth from automatic to semi-automatic. And someone who is engaged in assault operations, for example, or a firefight in the field, whether military or not, say a police action, SWAT team, and so on. There are occasions when you want to choose more carefully, you want to be more discriminating in the target that you're aiming at, so you'd switch to a semi-automatic, and then you'd pull the trigger, and each time you pull the trigger, a bullet would exit from the barrel of the rifle. And if you're in a more demanding situation and you need to shoot back really quickly, then you just switch it to automatic fire. And of course, then all you need to do is pull the trigger once, and it'll keep firing until your clip is empty. Usually about, what, I think 30 bullets per clip or per magazine. Okay, so that's the basic definition by Britannica. Now, the thing that the point that they're also made there is that it's either semi-automatic or fully automatic. So the assault rifle does not stop being an assault rifle because you switch from automatic to semi-automatic. It's still the same rifle. It's still an assault rifle. It doesn't change its name. It doesn't change its character. Now, when we flip that over to the proponents of civilian-owned, okay, I have to cancel that, sorry. When you go to proponents of the civilian-owned AR-15s, they're going to tell you that the gun, I just want to get power off there, sorry about that, thank you. Okay, they're going to tell you that the civilian AR-15 is not automatic, and therefore that disqualifies it from being an assault rifle. Again, as a gun user, as an English teacher, as someone who dabbles in certain history related subjects from time to time, I can say that that's absolutely hogwash. That if you say the AR-15 is not an assault rifle, it certainly is. And the fact that the argument supporting that particular gun in the civilian market is that it's not designed to kill people, it's just designed to shoot as many rounds as possible per minute. Yes, okay, but the consequence of putting that particular enabled rifle, assault rifle, into the hands of somebody who intends to do harm with it, you up the ante quite a bit to danger to the public. This is what's been happening on the school shootings and mass shootings that have been happening in the United States, is that you have had a very strong lobby fighting restrictions on the assault rifle for the very valid reason that there's a real fear, and it's a real fear, it could happen, that other inroads by the state, by the government, against the right to bear arms will keep occurring and occurring, get more and more severe until someday nobody will be allowed to have a gun, everybody will be disarmed. So this, the reaction against that is obviously a brick wall, a concrete wall against any restrictions on the AR-15 to the extent, including of saying, no, it's not an assault rifle. And again, I go back and I correct those people and I say that it is an assault rifle and it always has been an assault rifle. Now, what happened is that the AR-15, and before that the AK-47, and before that earlier German weapons and Japanese weapons go way, way back. And the development of those, refinement and development of those weapons led to today's AR-15 and the other fully automatic military rifles, assault rifles. So the Britannica.com, as I mentioned, article there on assault rifle has got some very good graphics showing you what an M16, and guess what? They're calling it assault rifle, M16 assault rifle. Now, unfortunately, on this sketch, there's no indication whether or not that can be switched between automatic and semi-automatic. And I'm not an expert. I did not look it up yet. Somebody can look it up. I'm not sure whether it can be switched or not. But the problem here is now we go to, say, this uh, very quick semi-automatic firing of the assault rifle in a civilian context. And you add that to enhancing the firing capacity, the rounds per minute, by putting attachments or modifications on the gun, either to make it fully automatic or partly, I don't know what it's a misterm, but they'll say it's like almost automatic or uh, artificially automatic, the bump stock. So obviously, yeah, the gun proponents will argue that a bump stock, a bumper stock on this, it does not make it automatic. But what it does is it moves the rate per minute between semi-automatic to automatic. So if you got, like, say, 300 rounds per minute possibly being fired by somebody in a semi-automatic setting, and then you up the ante on that by putting a bump stock on there, then that could possibly go up to, say, maybe its maximum, I don't know, maybe 600, so double. So the normal, I think, rating on automatic rifles like that is approximately 1,200 rounds per minute. So you're going up to about where before you were 25% of the maximum, you're now at 50% of the maximum with that bump stock. So there's a lot of ego thrill on these things when they're kicked up, and you can blast a whole lot of metal or targets apart very quickly, and it's very loud and it's a lot of fun. It's not cheap, um, so you can do that. But the other important aspect of this, even for a gun proponent like myself or a Second Amendment advocate like myself, is that when you take that rapid firing instrument into a civilian field, school or any public area like this, and you put it in the hands of someone who means to do harm, when you add to that the larger larger amount of bullets fired per minute, that is the firing rate of that, when you allow that to be increased, then what you are doing is you are increasing the general hazard to the public, the potential hazard, and the obviously then you come to the argument. Okay, we got that situation. This is the reality. What do we do with it? The don't touch the guns side says do whatever you can as far as safety and hardening schools and so on, but don't touch this because it's not even an assault rifle. And my point back to them is that yes, it is an assault rifle, and psychologically, the gun lobby, Second Amendment proponents, and so on, really need to get on the bandwagon, I think, on this issue, and work like hell to retain the Second Amendment as it was intended to be written and maintained, but back off from allowing such a murderous, high capacity weapon to get into normal civilian hands. We've got a lot of enhancements we need to make as far as that AR-15 is concerned. One, it obviously is private retailers and wholesalers to limit, restrict, and in some places absolutely stop selling them to certain people. Um, you you have to go ahead and decide what your financial capabilities are when you lose a segment of the market. Is the AR-15, if you refuse to sell it, going to put you out of business or not? So you have to think about these as a business decision, but it's also a public safety issue. And I like the freedom that we have. Uh, and as many people have said in the past, when my age, we had, I mean, you could, even downstairs in many schools, there were rifle ranges, gun ranges, and young kids were taught how to use rifles and pistols and how to shoot and gun safety and so on. It never became a real problem. Mass shootings never really became a problem until other things occurred that enabled the mass abuse of these weapons. And those things include, and they're not to be laughed off, they include total dismissal of any theology that would purport that man is not the highest authority in the universe. That is denial of God or a supreme being. So that's out of the classroom now. It's out of the family, and then on the family itself. You have most of the shooters, I believe, almost all of them, mass shooters, were raised in fatherless homes. So you got the family issues concerned. You got the moral and religious issues uh, involved. You've also got their peer groups. You got people that um, indoctrinate one another to be hateful and to dismiss decency and so on. So all of this adds together to make the AR-15 and similar weapons that are available currently in the civilian market extremely hazardous for society. So in the interim, yes, we need to do something about the AR-15. What was it? Dick's Sporting Goods and Walmart and probably some others are going ahead and either restricting sales or dropping out of sales altogether as far as the AR-15 is concerned. But the people who are familiar with guns, who are relatively expert in them, need to get on the side of first prevention. We need to, they need, and we can't be contentious all the time and say the gun lobby is fighting the right to life lobby and so on. This is nonsense. We're all in the same boat. We're all exposed to the same dangers. We all wish that our society would be better than it is, but some of us are just saying, no, you're wrong. This is the way it's got to be. And the other groups are saying, well, I don't know enough about that to comment. So we got to get educated. We have to learn what we're talking about when it comes to guns, when it comes to shooting, when it comes to safety, it comes to the Second Amendment, comes to the Constitution, comes to the AR-15 assault rifle, and whether or not restrictions on people having access to it will impact negatively our Second Amendment or not. And in the meantime, I would endeavor to appeal to all households who have guns in the household to review the access to those guns by anybody in your house. So yourself as owner and your family members and friends, who has access to those, and on top of that, not only who has access, but who in your family or in your circle, in your peer group, is acting strange, talking crazy, and so on. You really need to take individual members, individual action to try to stop such people from taking one of those firearms and doing anything like we saw done recently in Florida. So that's about it. Again, I urge you to go to Encyclopedia Britannica and read a little bit. You need to read something about this subject that isn't written by Dan Bongino, that isn't written by conservatives, that isn't written by the other side of the issue, anti-gun lobby. You don't want to read it if they wrote it either, because you'll get a very slanted viewpoint of things, and you're never going to get the accurate information. So do your own reading, find a neutral source, and I would say, again, Encyclopedia Britannica or something of that caliber that cannot be taken apart by somebody and say, well, look, that entire paragraph is just an opinion. These are not opinions in the encyclopedia. They're facts, and they're written by experts in each field. So go ahead, take time to read a little bit, because then it'll give you some ground to dig your feet in, and then you can make your argument a lot better, no matter which side you're on. Thank you very much.